In a world filled with doubt about the afterlife, Gray always scoffed at the idea of a light at the end of the tunnel. He never believed in near-death experiences where people claim to have seen them. But everything changes when he awakens in a blinding tunnel, unsure of how he died. His last memory was looking over the city from his room before feeling a sudden heaviness and collapsing onto his bed. Was he poisoned? Assassinated? Gray must now solve this mystery, as many wanted his life because he was a king. As Gray struggles with the reality of his reincarnation and inability to change his fate, he finds himself in the body of a healthy baby boy named Arthur. Surprisingly, he possesses the ability to understand the language, which gives him a glimmer of hope. His mother, Alice LEYWIN, exudes a warm and loving aura, captivating Arthur with her beauty and charm. Meanwhile, his father, Reynolds, impresses with a strong jaw and sharp brows, suggesting a strict and serious demeanor. Arthur finds his surroundings to be normal but wonders where he actually is. As weeks pass, it becomes evident that Alice, although gentle and kind-hearted, holds a tight grip on the family. On the other hand, Reynolds is a reliable and charismatic man, despite the occasional childish behavior. While Arthur is grateful for his loving family, his life is spoiled by physical difficulties he wouldn't wish on anyone, including his enemies. He struggles with limited control over his body and relies on Alice for basic bodily functions, a situation he finds humbling and challenging. As they stroll through the town, Arthur contemplates the mental strength he developed as a king in his previous life, hoping that this strange reality is nothing more than a dream. His journey in time to an archaic era confounds him, and he questions the norm of carrying weapons in this period. Suspicious vials passed off as medicine raised his suspicions. Meanwhile, Alice notices Arthur's exhaustion and suggests returning home. Once a mighty king in his past life, Arthur finds himself in a moment of great pride as he achieves a simple milestone. He can now crawl. As he crawls, Alice reminds Ray to protect him from hitting his head on corners, while Reynolds ensures Alice keeps him away from dangerous objects like a nearby shelf. Amidst the crawling, Arthur accidentally collides with a mirror, amusing his parents who finds his actions cute. Reflecting on his new identity as Arthur, a former king turned into the adorable Art, he admits that he's not fully accustomed to his new name. Nevertheless, gazing at his reflection, he can't help but feel utterly cute. With a mischievous smile, Arthur playfully warns future ladies to be prepared for heartbreak. After Alice kisses him while he sleeps, she leaves the room. Suddenly, Arthur wakes up and crawls out of the crib. Unnoticed by Alice washing dishes, he sneaks around and discovers a secret room filled with books about the world he's now in, called Dicathan. This continent comprises 3 major kingdoms, Elenoir, also known as the 11 Kingdoms in the Forest, Darv, or the vast underground kingdom of dwarves, and Sapin, the human kingdom, which is the most populated. Arthur discovers that this world's lack of technological progress is due to the prevalent use of magic, especially mana. Unlike his previous worlds, mana exists all around and is genetically controlled, with approximately 1 in 100 children possessing it. Mana can be utilized in various ways, mainly through augmentation and conjuration. Augmenters enhance their bodies with mana, granting extraordinary strength, defense, and agility, but their range is limited. Conjurers, on the other hand, manipulate the surroundings using mana, but must supplement their own mana core with external energy to cast spells. As Arthur reads a book, he learns about deviants, rare mages like his mother, who possess unique restorative mana. Mages experience their first awakening during adolescence or late teenage years when their mana core manifests, similar to the key center in their previous life. With determination, Arthur starts meditating to unlock his magical potential, but Alice interrupts him by grabbing him. Determined to become the greatest mage, Arthur begins his journey in this world. Alice reminds him it's time to change his diaper, which he realizes he had soiled during his intense concentration. From Alice's perspective, her diary entries reveal her amazement at how 2 years have passed. Yet every day brings new discoveries about her baby, Arthur. With his auburn hair and bright azure eyes, Alice can't help but find him the most adorable child. However, she worries that his charm might lead him into trouble if she doesn't become a strict and dependable mother, especially since Ray, his father, isn't the most responsible figure. She even caught him teaching baby Arthur how to fight. Notably, Arthur takes immense pleasure in visiting the small merchant strip in central Ashburn, prompting Alice to accompany him downtown almost every other day for fresh food and educational experiences, rather than mere grocery shopping. She believes this isn't spoiling him, but rather fostering his curiosity and growth. As she witnesses Arthur's rapid growth, Alice wonders about his future. With Ray as his father, she anticipates his inclination toward becoming an adventurer, but this thought fills her with anxiety. She hopes he'll fare better than the naive youngsters who dream of making it big in the adventurous world. Yet, one challenge remains: Arthur's persistent habit of sneaking into the study room. Alice contemplates moving his crib there, but she decides to leave that decision for another day. As she concludes her diary entry, Alice sets her pen down and leaves, her mind full of love and concern for her beloved son, Arthur. Meanwhile, Arthur gazes out the window, watching his father in the yard. As Ray removes his gloves, Arthur remarks that it's been around 2 years since he embarked on this challenging quest to study. Throughout this time, he's absorbed a wealth of knowledge, finding each day's discoveries enthralling. While Arthur observes Ray with intent, he notices that his father has been chanting for a few minutes now, his focus unwavering. Suddenly, Ray raises a rock using what seems like telekinesis, causing it to hover in the air. Astonished, Arthur wonders what other mystical wonders his father is capable of conjuring. Reynolds focuses intently on using his magic to throw a rock with precision. Through the window, he notices Arthur observing him. With a smile and a thumbs up, Reynolds acknowledges Arthur's presence. Arthur, however, seems unimpressed, thinking to himself that his dad's intense concentration was only for something he could easily throw without magic. Soon after, Alice appears and playfully taps Arthur's head, asking if he's watching his dad's training. Frustrated by Reynolds' actions, she scolds him for ruining the front yard yet again. After a while, Reynolds takes off his gloves briefly, then puts them back on again, while Arthur reflects on his past knowledge and figures that his father possesses augmenter abilities, leaving him wondering about his own potential once his mana core awakens. In the meantime, Reynolds continues his training, with both Alice and Arthur keenly observing his progress, curious about what Arthur's own mana core will bring when it awakens. Suddenly, Arthur decides to get down from a chair, but it's too high for him. She notices his half-closed eyes and decides he needs a nap. Kissing him affectionately, she leads him to his room. Along the way, Arthur spots the study room and excitedly points out the books. Alice reminds him it's nap time, but eventually relents and allows him a short playtime in the study. In the study room, Arthur delves into the books while Alice keeps a watchful eye on him. Unexpectedly, a loud impact startles Alice, fearing that his father might have knocked down another tree. Meanwhile, Arthur focuses on his meditation, and the radiant light emanates from his hands. He reflects on his progress in forming his mana core, a significant achievement he's been diligently working on for the past 2 years. Gathering thousands of mana fragments inside his body near his solar plexus, Arthur understands why it typically takes until adolescence for this formation to occur naturally. Despite the challenging journey for both body and mind, he acknowledges that the effort has been worthwhile. Elsewhere, Alice brings food and drink to Ray, who works on restoring the fallen tree to its position. Suddenly, a tremendous explosion shakes the house, prompting Ray to rush to Alice's side to protect her. In the aftermath of the explosion, Reynolds rushes to check on Alice's well-being and finds her in a state of shock. She reveals that Arthur is still inside the now destroyed house, which sends Reynolds into a panic as he hurries to rescue him. Inside the ruined house, Reynolds is stunned by what he discovers, leaving him speechless and astonished. Meanwhile, Alice cautiously approaches the scene, ensuring the danger has passed. Curious about Reynolds' reaction, she asks him what's wrong. He skeptically responds that Arthur is not even 3 years old, yet he is floating and meditating. Both Alice and Reynolds are taken aback by witnessing Arthur's abilities. As Arthur descends from his meditation, he feels an overwhelming power within him, the sensation of having a mana core. Everything around him seems vibrant, even the trees. However, Arthur is confused as he realizes that the house is now destroyed, and he wonders if they were attacked by someone daring enough to target a king's home. Nevertheless, he perseveres, dedicating himself to learning. Over the past year, he's undertaken various endeavors, rebuilding the house with his mother's guidance, mastering mana manipulation and augmentation, and engaging in basic workouts with his father. With a wooden sword gifted on his 3rd birthday, Arthur practices diligently, his small frame not hindering his determination. As he immerses himself in reading, a sudden appearance by Reynolds interrupts him. The time for training has come, and Arthur grasps his sword. Reynolds advises him to synchronize mana flow with his breathing, comparing the core to any other organ in his body. Arthur wonders if such abstract concepts are typical for a 4-year-old, but he proceeds with the training. Despite struggling to sever Reynolds' stick, Arthur is encouraged to persist. Reynolds, relentless in his motivation, promises no respite until Arthur succeeds. With limited time before dinner, Arthur knows he must demonstrate progress quickly. Closing his eyes, he delves into mana manipulation, and to Reynolds' astonishment, slices through the stick with his sword. Pleased with his progress, Arthur requests permission to study further, and Reynolds allows it with a nod, saying, "Sure art." Alone in his room, Arthur began to meditate, recognizing that strength in this world was measured by the color of one's mana core. Starting off black, the mana core resulted from the fusion of blood and mana particles, tainted by impurities. With time, the core would purify, progressing through colors: red, orange, yellow, silver, and white, each with 3 shades which are dark, solid, and light. The purer the mana core, the more potent its power. In the midst of his meditation, Alice called out to Arthur for dinner, causing him to lose focus. As they dine, Alice and Reynolds enjoy their meal while Arthur struggles with utensils, yearning for some personal learning space. Amid the meal, Reynolds suggests that it's time for Arthur to have a proper mentor. Before we continue, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so we'll know to make more videos like this one. After the intense discussion, Reynolds decides it's time for young Arthur to find a proper mentor. However, a disagreement arises between Reynolds and Alice. She feels like Arthur is still too young, which is contrary to how Reynolds is amazed by their 4-year-old son's prodigious mana manipulation abilities. Alice doesn't want Arthur to leave home for a distant city, but Reynolds assures her that Cyrus City is different and that his friend will take good care of their child. After some back and forth, the tension eases, and Reynolds turns to Arthur to ask if he wants to go to the big city and have a real teacher. Confused, Arthur wonders if Reynolds is letting him decide, finding it quite a responsibility for a 4-year-old. Hesitantly, Arthur asks if both mommy and daddy can come along and meet the teacher together. At the unexpected request, Alice and Reynolds exchange glances before bursting into laughter. Reynolds admits they didn't consider going together, but Alice feels more at ease with the idea if she's present during Arthur's tests and meeting with the teacher. With the decision made, they all agree to head to Cyrus City. Arthur is surprised to overhear his parents already preparing for the 3-week journey. In the dimly lit room, Arthur remains engrossed in a mysterious book. Unexpectedly, Alice appears and reminds him to get some rest for their early departure. She takes the book, leaving Arthur wondering about their sudden rush. Alice explains they're heading to Cyrus with their dad's old friends from the Twin Horns, who are skilled conjurers and augmenters. Before leaving, Alice kisses his forehead and warns him not to stay up reading again. Instead, she suggests bringing books for the trip. Excited for the adventure ahead, Arthur can't help but think about the Twin Horns' previous acts of kindness, helping to rebuild their town. With the anticipation of what lies beyond, Arthur bids farewell to his mother, eager to explore the world beyond its quiet hometown. By mid-morning, Arthur and his family meet the Twin Horns. They exchange waves with Adam Crench, a skilled augmenter known for his spear-waving expertise. Reynolds embraces Adam, expressing gratitude for the company on their journey, and introduces his son, Arthur LEYWIN, to the Twin Horns. Angela Rose, a conjurer specializing in wind magic, excitedly hugs Arthur, overwhelming him momentarily. Durden Walker, a conjurer with earth magic abilities, intervenes to protect Arthur from Angela's tight hug, earning a smile from Arthur. Jasmine FLAMESWORTH, a talented augmenter wielding dual daggers, acknowledges Arthur before heading to their transport. Another woman, HELEN, reassures Arthur about Jasmine getting used to him and introduces herself. With everyone acquainted, they all ride on large lizards for transportation, embarking on their journey towards Cyrus City. As the night fell, the members of the Twin Horns formed a protective circle and used powerful spells to battle wolves. Alice covered Arthur's eyes during the fight. After their victory, they celebrated with a campfire feast. Helen noticed Arthur's sadness and asked if he was tired from their journey to Cyrus City. Arthur admitted feeling fatigued, and Helen comforted him, reminding him it was natural for a first-time traveler. As they reflected, Arthur acknowledged it was true for this life. Helen mentioned rumors about Arthur's father, a proud mage who awakened his abilities just a year ago. Intrigued, they engaged in a brief but enjoyable conversation by the campfire's warm glow. Meanwhile, Adam spoke to Reynolds, expressing his intention to stretch before sleeping. Reynolds shared that he had practiced with his son, but Adam still asked if he could spar with Arthur. Reynolds agreed, cautioning Adam as they had only recently moved from light exercises to actual combat. As they prepared for their spar, Arthur acknowledged that kids his age back home would struggle with simple tasks. But here, everyone seemed to take fighting him for granted. Adam readied his spear and asked if Arthur knew how to reinforce his weapon properly before the friendly duel began. With a deep focus, Arthur takes a trip down memory lane, recalling the battles he fought for his country and loved ones. Encouraged by his family and the Twin Horns, he braces himself to face the ruthless Adam. Despite nervousness and anxiety, Arthur charges ahead, channeling mana into his legs. His initial strike misses, but he spots an opening on Adam's right side and reinforces his wooden sword with mana. Adam, surprised but agile, evades the attack and strikes back. Arthur responds with a well-timed swipe, causing Adam to stumble. Aware of his disadvantage, Arthur avoids a second hit but is struck by Adam's wooden stick. Quick on his feet, Arthur dodges Adam's kick and repositions himself. The battle intensifies as they engage in a dance of skill and determination. As the battle raged on, Arthur recalled Newton's third law of motion, understanding the pain of an equal and opposite reaction. Alice worriedly called out to him, while Durden scolded Adam for hitting too hard and questioned the training he gave Arthur. In response, Reynolds admitted he had no part in teaching him those techniques. Despite the intense encounter, Alice managed to heal Arthur, who revealed that he had learned from observing his father and reading books. Curious, Adam decided to impart some of his own movement techniques to Arthur, determined to teach the younger fighter new skills. As the days rolled on, Arthur and his friends ventured towards Cyrus City. Amidst the journey, Arthur's birthday came and went, marked by precious gifts and valuable lessons. Adam, Helen, and Arthur's father guided their training, making steady progress. However, the biggest surprise was Jasmine, who proved to be a natural prodigy, mastering several techniques in no time. Arthur marveled at her quick grasp of the feint step. In a sudden moment, Alice interrupted, urging them to move ahead. The adventure towards Cyrus City continued with new surprises awaiting them. As the journey continued, the group found themselves ascending the mountains on a narrow path that circled around the rugged terrain. Memories of Adam's mischievous father resurfaced, prompting playful banter among the travelers. Amidst the laughter, Arthur noticed his mother, Alice, coughing and expressed concern. Trying to reassure him, Alice brushed it off as mere fatigue. However, Arthur's worry didn't subside, and he sought distraction by flipping through a book. Little did he know that Jasmine, one of their companions, was quietly observing and was eager to learn from him. Suddenly, the carriage started shaking, alarming everyone inside. As Arthur continued reading, they realized it was an ambush by bandits. Helen took charge, ordering everyone to prepare for engagement. Angela summoned her magic, commanding the wind to protect and shield them from incoming arrows. The Twin Horns members quickly positioned themselves, ready to face the bandits. But the situation was dire. The path ahead and retreat were both blocked by sword-wielding bandits, while archers on the mountainside threatened them from above. They were trapped. In their midst stands a fearsome figure, a man marked by multiple scars, possessing the strength of a bear, and wielding a massive battle axe. With cruel intentions, he decrees to spare only the women and children, cautioning against leaving scars to maintain their value as commodities. Amidst the aftermath, the leader reflects on his sheltered existence and realizes the existence of darkness in every world, including his own. Arthur remains expressionless, pondering to himself. Damaged goods? Witnessing Arthur's anger, Alice rushes to comfort him, offering her support. Meanwhile, Durden and Reynolds take their positions, shielding the group from archers with an earth wall and a wind barrier. Helen, determined and focused, shoots an arrow infused with mana at the leader, but he easily deflects it. Reynolds bravely fights off the archers but is caught off guard by a bandit. Helen comes to his rescue, swiftly dealing with the attacker. As Jasmine and Adam join the fight, they skillfully defeat multiple bandits. However, Jasmine is confronted by a whip-wielding foe who taunts and threatens her. Despite being at a disadvantage, Jasmine dodges his attacks with agility. Observing the chaos, Arthur wonders if he can aid Jasmine, but he's unsure if his current body can match up to an adult augmenter. Doubts plague his mind as he contemplates his ability to be a worthy fighter in this critical moment. However, the clash between fighters is interrupted when Arthur's attention shifts to his injured father struggling to rise from the debris. Alice urgently calls out for help as Reynolds smirks and watches the scene unfold. Realizing that his father's life is at stake, Arthur urges Alice to hurry and heal him. However, to his dismay, she is unable to do so, leaving Arthur confused about his mother's condition. Despite the setback, Reynolds reassures everyone that his injuries aren't life-threatening and tells Alice to heal him after a brief pause. Concerned about Alice's safety, Reynolds shares a plan with Arthur. He will fend off the leader of the assailants while Arthur takes his mother away from the danger. Arthur adamantly refuses to leave his father's side, but Reynolds reminds him of his fighting abilities and entrusts him with protecting both Alice and the unborn baby inside her. In a moment of reflection, Arthur comes to a profound realization about his mother's emotional state. He learns of her pregnancy, and his father, Reynolds, intended to share the news upon reaching Cyrus. However, faced with the circumstances, Arthur makes a firm decision to protect his mom and swears to keep her safe. Meanwhile, Alice's healing process for Reynolds is underway, and he reveals that they now have 4 mages supporting them. However, a confrontation with bandits arises, and a furious leader commands his followers to capture Alice. In the face of danger, Arthur guides his mother away from the chaos, hoping his father will survive. As they continue, they encounter Adam and the dual wielder battling further down the road, with a bandit pursuing them. Adam takes on the assailant, allowing Arthur and Alice to keep running. An archer tries to attack them, but Archer blocks the arrow with his wooden sword, much to the archer's surprise. Helen intervenes with a well-aimed arrow, urging them not to halt. While running, Arthur senses that something is amiss. There should be 4 mages supporting them, but he can only identify 3. Curiosity piqued. He wondered about the missing mage. Suddenly, a bandit yells for someone named Damien to kill them all, leading Arthur to question who this Damien is talking to. From the mountainside, an archer prepares an attack on Arthur and Alice. In a moment of realization, Arthur discovers the truth. The missing mage had disguised himself as an archer. He was not an augmenter or an archer, but a conjurer. The conjurer unleashes a massive pressurized water sphere heading towards them. With quick thinking, Arthur pushes Alice to safety while preparing to counter the attack. Using his mana, he attempts to redirect the water cannon back at the mage, even if it means sacrificing himself. Jasmine hurls a knife at the mage, striking his knee with precision. Seizing the opportunity, Arthur manipulates a delicate strand of mana, connecting the knife embedded in the conjurer's body to his hand. Just as the mage's spell rushes towards them, Arthur yanks on the mana string, diverting the attack. As the mage clings to the cliff's edge, the strain causes the cliff to crumble, leading to a dramatic fall for both the mage and Arthur, still connected by the slender mana thread. At the same time, Durden struggles to cast a spell to rescue them, but it proves futile. Arthur, trying to stay positive, manages a weak smile, assuring that others will be safe. However, tears stream down his face as he confesses his desire to be an older brother. And that's where our recap ends for this manhwa. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on the next exciting adventure. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.